Hello everyone, welcome to the 100 Days of Cloud series. This is Lakshat Pant from Azure Developer Community, and we have been doing this 100 Days of Cloud series for 25 days now. We have covered a couple of topics so far where we have discussed about multiple services of Azure, virtual machines deployment through multiple ways, PowerShell, Azure CLI, resource logs, network security groups, virtual networks, VPNs, managed identities, and a couple of key walls, firewall, and a little bit about the site recovery as well, right? This is what we have covered so far. And we've also discovered a little bit about the migration stuff, and we were talking about Azure migration, how to do it with using data box, what is Azure data box, what is this new term that came recently in the market, like import, export, backup, Azure backup, and everything, right? Everything we saw there in this 100 days of cloud series. And when we discuss about if we talk about the yesterday we have discussed about the cloud adoption, where it was more about what are the ways that you can consider if you are migrating from one cloud to other, right? How you can consider it, what are the services, or maybe if you are joining a new job and you are well versed with Azure, right? How you can just try out some other cloud. Maybe hi Daksh, hi everyone. So if you are today, because of this 100 days of cloud series, you are engrossed in Azure, right? But if tomorrow you join some other company where they are using some different cloud, how you can just cope up with that? It's not like you have to learn everything from basics. The backend and the concept, the logic remains the same. Just the front end part really changes a lot. It's just about the nomenclature stuff that changes in maybe in this cloud ecosystem. Now when we discuss about when we talk about the today's topic, right? I thought we will keep a topic around Azure Bicep, because that's what I have learned a couple of weeks back, maybe 1 week back. I have learned Azure Bicep, but I believe that would be a little bit tough and tricky for you all to understand right now, because Azure Bicep. So if you have learned about Azure ARM templates, right? We have discussed about Azure ARM templates. So Azure Bicep is similar to Azure ARM templates, right? But there is a difference. There is a big difference between Azure Bicep and so Bicep. More or less, Bicep is more like DSL. Maybe when we say about DSL, it is a domain specific language that you use for Azure only. So imagine you use Terraform, which is multi-cloud, which supports multi-cloud, but in with Bicep file is only applicable with Microsoft Azure, right? So it is quite as a limited, right? But if your entire infrastructure is in Azure, right, it's pretty much good resource to utilize in. It is definitely better than ARM templates. And in a in a typical Azure Bicep file, you can always define the infrastructure you want to deploy to Azure, and you can then use you can always define what kind of infrastructure you can deploy, and then you can just simply use that file throughout the development cycle repeatedly to deploy multiple infrastructure. So suppose today you are using, maybe you are a Hotstar, right? You are using if Hotstar is using Microsoft Azure, so it has these Bicep files already written with them, right? Now if they want to scale it up, right? So suppose today there was this test match going on, right? Now as soon as maybe the how is maybe the Sarfaraz Khan is in the hype right now, right? As soon as the Khan comes in, right, there's some kind of spike that the company experience, right? Company experience when in the number of traffic in the traffic concept, right? So then they can just scale up using these Bicep files. They do not have to do all the stuff manually. The Bicep file is already written over there, and everything can be automated online. There are separate pipelines that has been already pre-made, so one can already just work upon this. All these configurations of a virtual machine has been defined there already in a Azure Bicep file. So it's more like a template that you decide that these are the configuration that I want in my virtual machine, and then you deploy it. So again, that you can also do it using with maybe the ARM template, right? But the only difference with ARM, there are not a big difference between ARM templates and a Bicep file, since Azure Bicep is more a transparent abstraction over ARM templates, right? Essentially, if we talk about everything that can be done in ARM can also be replicated in Bicep, right? But Azure ARM resources such as maybe API versions, properties, types are very valid, definitely a valid use for myself. If you are using maybe API versions, properties, types, and everything, right? then using Bicep would really help you out. So right, Azure Bicep is the one service that you can explore today. And yeah, definitely, most of you have these questions, right? How is it better? It's better when we talk about the entire Azure ecosystem, but it's not when we talk about only different multi clouds, right? Because when we talk about Terraform supports multi cloud capability, right? But Azure Bicep offers, maybe it is more Azure centric and concise for managing Azure resources only. So with Bicep file, you can only manage Azure resources, not any other cloud, right? So that's a pretty much difference, right? Yeah. So now let's quickly move today to today's topic that I want you to learn. I don't know if you guys have missed it, right? Because I have given you the assignment, but I I I did this poll in the group as well. I asked people to share their blogs, but a couple of few people have already shared it with me, right? No one has shared the blog with me on AZ900. I really want to see what you guys have learned in AZ900, right? Because AZ900 is very much important. So it's very easy. It's easier, right? Again, it's just about subject. Just about the services that you see in Azure, right? So if one has to draw a parallel, it is more like getting to know about the people. It's more like your orientation ceremony when you step into the college. You have this orientation ceremony in your colleges, right? So Azure AZ900 is just something similar like this, where you are just getting to know about what are the names of these particular services and what we use it for. Maybe Azure TCO, what is Azure total pricing calculator, why we use TCO, what is Azure pricing calculator, why we use maybe Azure pricing calculator, what is the difference between them, in which scenario, what kind of service I will use. This is what we typically talk about when we talk about AZ900, right? It's just about the use case. So this is what precisely okay, not this one, maybe I'll share you. Here I have written in the GitHub file. So you'll see there are more or less there are 14 concepts that Azure AZ900 covers. First, that is Azure identify the benefits and consideration of using Azure cloud services. What are Azure cloud services? Very much simple. It is, again, this is more or less about different benefits, like why we use your cloud services, just for scalability, reliability, backups and everything, right? So for that purposes we use this. So most of the topics you will see here, I have already covered those topics, right? It is about categories of your cloud services. Like, you have these different categories for contain, maybe for backend services you have different types, for databases you have different services, for front end you have different services. So all these services are there. Like, what are the differences between types of cloud computing? What are the types of cloud? Public, private, hybrid, all these types of clouds are there, right? Public, private, hybrid, these three types of cloud. What is public cloud? The one which you use Azure, GCP, AWS, all these are public clouds. What is private cloud? Maybe VMware solutions, right? Maybe Azure can be also a public cloud if you are deploying it on your private servers, right? And then there can be hybrid, where you are using on-premise as well and you're using cloud as well. That is a public cloud. Now, so this is more or less about the types of cloud computing. Then there comes the core architectural components. What is core architectural components? It is more or less, it is about the as what is as infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So what is infrastructure as a service? So by this example, I believe you will be able to understand this more, right? So infrastructure as a service is more or less, it is maybe where you get, okay, I'll just tell you right now what is infrastructure as a service, where you manage the infrastructure part. So it's not like, instead of setting your own data center, you go to Microsoft Azure and you say that I want to deploy my infrastructure. I want to deploy a virtual machine, and I'll be taking care of that entire virtual machine. So that comes into an Azure infrastructure, right? What are the examples of IaaS? Again, these Azure, Microsoft Azure, and everything. These are the example of IaaS, infrastructure as a service. Then what is an example of platform as a service, where you just pay for the platform? Let's suppose, what could be the maybe these Netlify, you pay for what you use, like Netlify, Vercel, where you are just using the platform and you are just maybe paying for those services only, right? That's more or less about the maybe platform as a service. Then software as a service, like the software that you typically use. It can be maybe Windows application, it can be any kind of Windows software, maybe Premiere, VS Code, Premiere Pro, Adobe Premiere Pro, whatever services software. So where you just manages the software part. So there are three different kind of models that you can see. If you are having an on-premise solutions, see, it is like what you have to manage and what Microsoft will manage. So in software as a service, your application, network control, operating system, physical host, physical network, physical data center, all these things will be managed by Microsoft. And your data, your devices, your accounts, identities, and this identity infrastructure, this will be managed by you, right? In platform as a service, these application, network controls, and all these things will be managed by you, and the rest everything will be managed by Microsoft. In infrastructure as a service, you manage still operating system. So while you deploy a virtual machine, right, this you decide what kind of image you want in your virtual machine, right? It can be Ubuntu image, it can be maybe a CentOS image, it can be a Red Hat image, right? You decide what kind of operating system you want. It can be a Windows virtual operating system, right? So that is when the IaaS infrastructure service comes up now, and Microsoft just cares of physical host and physical network and physical data center. Now then there is this last option, that is on-premise, where you manage each and every aspect of your entire system. So this is more or less about architectural components. Now describe the Azure core resources available in Azure. It is more about the resources core, uh, the services that are present in the Microsoft Azure. Then you just in the all these next from 6 to 14, what you have to do, just see and just explore what are the services and why it is required. Do not go to Microsoft Azure portal and do not explore it there. Just go copy this, describe Azure security features. Just type simply like this. It will tell you the typical what are the Azure security services, like Sentinel is there, Azure AD is there, Intra ID that we call, and Azure Firewall is there. All these solutions it will tell you. Just have to just explore these like definitions. That's it. It's more like maybe a numerical, maybe it's more like a theoretical work that you have to do today. Like what is Microsoft Defender, what is Sentinel, what is Keyword, what is your monitor, what is Dev Test Labs. Just explore these basic things, like all these maybe these basic, maybe the names. Try to remember the names. That's it, right? Same goes with network security, same goes with this, same goes with this, same goes with this, right? We will go hands-on, and we will go hands-on with all the services later, when we will do like Azure Monitor, we will be doing Azure storage services, we are doing here Azure, maybe this event grades, event hub, service bus, logic apps, everything we are doing here. So we will go hands-on with all these services, but today your work is just to go and understand these services, why these services exist, and write these services in your language. Suppose it is Azure Content Delivery. What does the Azure Content Delivery do? Why it is there? What is the purpose of Azure Content Delivery? So explore this and write the definition in your own language. So if you are writing a blog, write these definition in your own language. Okay, that is more like your work for today. And yeah, that's it. You just have to go to the GitHub repository and explore whatever I have written there. You have to explore all the services that comes in. It will be around 50 to 60 services. Just read it, write in your definition, read and write in your definition, and you are all sorted and all set for maybe your things, right? So this is more or less you have to do for this 100 days of, for today's day 25 of the AZ 900 thing, for today's recap, and we are all sorted there. And from today I'll share you the project details, what project you have to build, and from the next day we will learn Linux, right? We'll jump off to the Linux part, like that will be. So if anyone wants to learn Linux, right, apart from this 100 Days of Cloud series, I believe if anyone wants to learn Linux concept, this could be the kick for you. So maybe from the 17th of February, I'll cover start Linux. Right, from 17th of February, I'll start Linux. So if anyone wants to join, any of your friend, maybe they are not doing 100 days of cloud, but still if they are willing to join, they can do 11 days of Linux, right? We will be doing 11-12 days of Linux, so they can obviously they just ask them to join for that. for these sessions. So thank you everyone for joining for today's session. This is it for today. You just have to explore Azure services for today, right? I'll quickly write a blog in my own language about all these services and AZ landed, and see you tomorrow. Thank you.